Hi, everybody. Welcome to Ecker Geopolitics. It's July 9th, 2026, and today we're talking about all of the big news happening today. The United States struck Iran again, and those strikes are continuing. In the meantime, we also have Little Rock, Arkansas, which is being taken over by the Muslims again. Whether or not you think that my comments are racist or offensive, your country's being taken over. And I think it's insane that people are not saying more about it. I think it's absolutely crazy. So we're going to talk more about that. And at the same time, we also have the Charlie Kirk case, which continues on. Yesterday, I tried making a stream on it. And again, we were all glitchy. And I mean, we're still always usually pretty glitchy on this device. But X was giving me a lot of problems opening those videos. So maybe today we'll get to watch some more of those. And then again, of course, we'll cover the Ukraine war a little bit. We'll cover some of the markets and what's going on with marine traffic, all that kind of stuff. So again, be sure to leave a comment on your thoughts. Be sure to click like and subscribe to the channel. And you will get news every single day, Monday through Thursday, sometimes Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Follow me on Instagram, Brendan Scott Ecker. Follow me. You can also watch on Rumble, Kick, Street, or Twitch, Facebook, all of these different places. You can watch the show. And follow me on X at Ecker17, and you'll get to have a little bit of my insights on geopolitics and things like that. So without further ado, let's get started. So honestly, what do you think about everything that's happening today? Again, leave your thoughts. I think it's absolutely crazy that our country does seem to be getting taken over right now. It does seem like we're getting overrun, right? And I think it's quite insane that nobody really talks about that. Nobody really talks about the severity of these issues, and especially in Little Rock, Arkansas, right? Think about that. You have these Islamic mosques being built in Dearborn, Michigan. They're already taking over in all of these different states, and then now they're taking over down south in red states, all of these places. Why? Well, it's a money scam. And the politicians understand that they're going to get money out of it. And at the end of the day, it's really no benefit to the actual native people who live there, and you'll be paying for it. So what kind of country do you want to live in? Because at the end of the day, as much as we have a freedom of religion and freedom of press, all of these things, you have to understand the freedom of speech and freedom of religion. The problem with that today is that it's being abused. Remember that this country, the United States of America, was founded by Christian men. And what that meant, the freedom of religion, was whether or not you wanted to really study Catholicism, Christianity, whether or not you wanted to focus on Lutheranism, whether or not you wanted to be a Baptist, all different sects of Christianity, or Catholicism, Orthodox Christianity, all of these different areas of Christianity. Did you want to be a Baptist? All different sects of Christianity. And again, you didn't have this country full of all of these different religions, and especially the Islamic religion. Again, this is Islam, where Sharia law essentially calls for taking out any kind of constitution. And we're going to watch videos of people saying that. Muslims literally saying that we want to replace the United States Constitution with Sharia law. And Sharia law means if you are a Christian, well, you'll be worshiping a false idol in their eyes, which means you should be punished, or you'll have to pay a tax. And very brutal religion. When you actually look at what's happening in the UK, you have, again, over 500,000 little European white girls who have been raped. Sorry to be so graphic, but that's happening in the UK, all over the world, really, and all over Europe. And then some of these people are the leading members of trafficking organizations. So very dangerous that we're just allowing this in, and people who don't really care are actually saying, oh yeah, let everybody in, come on in. Well, you're giving up your rights. Just understand that these people do want to replace the United States Constitution with Sharia law. And at the same time, we also have the Israeli occupation of the United States as well. Make no mistake. Again, I keep talking about H.R. 8800, the National Defense Authorization Act, which we need to be completely and totally against, right? We have politicians today who are very Israel first. You go to Washington, D.C., and they have the Israeli flag all over the place. So, again, what I'm always saying from the show, Ecker Geopolitics, you are really seeing basically Christians and Americans being hit from two sides. You have the Muslims coming in like a train, and then you have the Jews coming in like a train. And we're just all here in the middle. And we're supposed to just accept everybody. And yet, we have to accept the fact that these people come over here, they wave a foreign flag in our country, and they don't wave the American flag. They actually have no respect for the American flag. Again, you have Sneeko who's saying, this is New Yorkistan, Allah Shallah, we want to make the entire world into entire country is going to be Muslim, and Islam will be in every household. Big, big problem. I would call that domestic terrorism in many ways. You could argue that. And so when they say, well, that's freedom of speech. Yeah, but your freedom of speech is trying to promote a religion which, again, is trying to really become, have authority over the Christian religion and over the United States Constitution and on so forth. So, again, we're going to talk more about that. Leave your thoughts below on it. And, again, I just wanted to leave, my kind of comments. I think people just need to kind of wake up. You need to get out of your trance, and you need to understand what's really happening, because what's happening before your eyes is evil. And this is what conquest looks like throughout history. This is how nations have been taken over very quickly. If you don't respect your founding fathers and these guys on the wall, if you don't respect the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and if you don't learn something about that, and I don't mean be a Christian Zionist. I mean be an Orthodox Christian or a Catholic. I mean to actually understand what Christianity really means. Understanding the entire story, reading the Bible. What is the importance of the Old Testament and the New Testament? If you don't understand these things, then you actually really don't understand Christianity. And so, again, I'm not a Christian Zionist. I'm an Orthodox Christian. I consider myself in that set, and I believe that this should be a Christian country overall. Christianity is the only religion which allows for freedom and peace, transcendence, all of these things. Everything else, you look at Judaism, you look at Islam. Want to know one thing they have in common? Although they're enemies, they both believe that Christians are idol worshipers, and they kind of work together in politics and diplomacy to basically work against Christians. And so this is all happening. So that's what this show is going to be about today. Let me know your thoughts. So let's get right into it. Again, hold on. Gotta share the screen here. I think it's going to be an interesting show, though. Overall, what do you think about where we're at today? I think it's going to be interesting. So the U.S. strikes around 90 targets in Iran, who threatens grave consequences. So again, Wall Street Journal reports Israel shared intelligence with U.S. on alleged new Iranian plot to kill President Trump. Interesting. Now, they are saying that they want to do that at this point. The Iranians are saying that they do want to take out Trump. There's been protests in Iran saying, hey, Trump, we're going to kill you. That is what the Iranians have said. So what to know for today? The Iran war has reignited after the U.S. forces struck roughly 90 Iranian military targets, with CENTCOM saying the operation was aimed at protecting commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. President Donald Trump has declared the Iran ceasefire over Wednesday after Tehran attacked commercial vessels, raising the risk of renewed U.S.-Iran military conflict in the Gulf. Key U.S.-aligned Gulf states are reporting sirens blaring and incoming drone and missile strikes from Iran. Regional tensions are renewed. Oil prices hovered near $73 a barrel as traders watch the Strait of Hormuz shipping traffic, which, with any disruption to the critical energy corridor threatening global crude supplies. And Iraq is moving closer to Washington on diplomacy and economic cooperation, with Baghdad seeking a role in efforts to broker a plan between the U.S. and Iran. So again, when we look further into this Wall Street article, Wall Street Journal, citing people familiar with the matter, reported Thursday that Israel recently shared intelligence with the United States, indicating Iran was considering a new plot to assassinate President Donald Trump. According to the journal's exclusive report, the intelligence would represent an escalation in the conflict between Washington and Tehran if confirmed. Iran has long vowed retaliation against Trump over the 2020 U.S. strike that killed Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps General Qasem Soleimani. The White House referred the journal to comments that Trump made on Wednesday when he said he was on every list of Iranian assassination targets. I guess I've been a little bit lucky, but that maybe doesn't last very long, Trump said. So who knows what's going to happen with that? White House says Iran talks continue despite the MOU violations, acts of terrorism. The Trump administration said Thursday it remains committed to a diplomatic resolution with Iran, despite accusing Tehran of violating the memorandum of understanding that paused hostilities. Now, you have to understand that the United States we're really the ones that violated this entire MOU. We have to go and take that oil. We are low on oil reserves right now, and it's kind of in our better interest to keep war on the table at this point. So you have to understand why, when the IRGC basically had their terms for the MOU, they basically said that they would control the strait, but that was never agreed to by the United States at the same time. Yes, there was a signed deal, but at the same time, there was also not a real agreement there. All of this 60-day ceasefire and all of this was to basically allow the United States to resupply on ammo, resupply on military tech, everything we needed, and to restock. The official statement of the Memorandum of Understanding is performance-based and that Iran's actions constitute failed performance at an unacceptable level. Despite the violations, the official said, the U.S. continues to pursue diplomacy. The United States is still committed to finding a resolution in technical talks. As technical talks continue, Iran can never possess a nuclear weapon. That's the official line, right? That's what Netanyahu has said since 1967. That's what Trump's saying now. It's our catalyst and our reason to be in this war so we can take the Iranian oil. Kind of like everything you're seeing is an Iraq 2.0. Everything you're seeing, just look at the same patterns and everything George Bush really did. That's ultimately what we're seeing today. That's how you can kind of project or, predict what's coming when it comes to the future of this war. It's rather important that we are aware of this. Live updates after 2 weeks on hold. Deal between Israel and Lebanon is progressing, says U.S. official. So President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke on Thursday and discussed Turkey as well as the U.S. moves in the Persian Gulf. According to the Prime Minister's office, Turkey and Israel have acrimonious relations. Netanyahu has urged Trump not to sell jets to Turkey, saying it would put Israel in danger. Well, Trump has had a very good relationship with Erdogan of Turkey, and again, kind of a scare tactic to the Israelis. If you don't listen to the United States, then we'll just start supplying Turkey, and they have a pretty good military, and it's going to be a fight for the Israelis to just take that land, and they want to as a part of that greater Israel project. The U.S. launched new airstrikes against Iran early Thursday, hours after Trump said Iranian attacks on the ships in the Strait of Hormuz signaled the end of the ceasefire and threatened to escalate the conflict if they didn't stop. Iran responded by targeting U.S. allied Kuwait and Qatar and accused the U.S. of striking near its sole nuclear power plant. And again, Trump has said he wants to take Karg Island. That's in the books. That's in the plans. Back and forth attacks, including on Wednesday, have repeatedly threatened a ceasefire, but Thursdays appeared bigger all around, and Trump's mixed messaging approved back-to-back military strikes while insisting they don't mean to return to full-scale war is fueling uncertainty about what comes next. Whether it's a negotiation tactic or a signal to further the escalation, mediators are scrambling to save the interim deal. The inflamed tensions could also spell trouble for Republicans in November's midterm elections if gas prices stay high. So, yeah, November is going to be huge. Basically, if they don't give people the Clarity Act, cryptocurrency, right, digital assets, there's really going to be no way out of this. If we don't take Venezuela, if we don't take Venezuela, there's going to be really no oil supply. We're running low on oil supply. That's what they say, right? That's what they say. A lot of experts believe that we're really kind of oil rich, and we say these things so that we have reasons to basically perpetrate more war and to basically leverage our dominance in certain regions. So a very important thing to understand with that. So again, Israel is not ending their fight with Lebanon anytime soon, but basically Trump providing the Turkish military with fighter jets and, all of this is kind of helping them out. And so it's not helping the Israelis, on the other hand. Ukraine strikes Russian ships near Crimea, escalating attacks on fuel supplies. This was 7 hours ago. Here's footage of that. So that's pretty crazy. The Ukrainians, in my opinion, have been losing the war. A lot of people think that the Ukrainians have been winning the war. I don't really see that as true. I see the Ukrainian military, which appears to be losing, because really you're seeing Ukrainian men being ripped out of their homes or, walking down the street and they're being thrown into these white vans. Their military is dying quickly. And ultimately, Zelensky is also losing control over the narrative and politics. And at the same time, the only thing that's really keeping the Ukrainian military up and at them right now is basically the United States taxpayer. All your taxes are going to pay for Ukraine to basically continue this war, because the Ukrainians are a proxy for the Americans to fight the Russians. That's really how this all goes. Okay, and this is what the CIA has been wanting to do for a long time, right? We remember, if you have a memory, you understand that, it was the United States military with the Ukrainians who basically struck Moscow, Russia first, just when Biden was president. And then you had people in the Biden administration signing missiles that were going to be shot over into Moscow, Russia. So kind of interesting. And Zelensky was standing right there in the room with all of these U.S. diplomats and politicians. So insane. This is something the United States military has been wanting to do a long time. So again, Ukraine's military has intensified its attacks near Russian-annexed Crimea, following up strikes on Russia's land corridor to the peninsula by targeting maritime supply routes as well. Ukraine's drone force commander Robert Brovdy, also known as Magyar, says at least 25 ships have been hit and set on fire over the past 4 days in the Sea of Azov, in the inland sea linked to the Black Sea by the Kerch Strait. Such losses in so short time are a clear blow to Russia's naval capability as well as Vladimir Putin's guarantee of maintaining fuel supplies. And we have to remember, like, if you go on my Instagram or YouTube and you watch the shorts, I've been following and tracking a lot of the attacks and strikes that between the Ukrainians and the Russians. And the Ukrainians have been hitting the Russians pretty hard. Again, I consider the Ukrainian military basically the United States military, really, as a proxy. And we've been basically hitting a lot of their oil refineries and the Russian oil refineries. And so you've seen this happen in St. Petersburg as Vladimir Putin was giving an entire message to his people, to his country. Ukraine's drone force commander, we read that. Such losses in so short. Yep, read that too. These attacks appear to be the latest phase of Ukrainians' self-declared logistics lockdown, which aims to choke off supplies and routes into and out of occupied Crimea. Ukraine's military talks of 36 ships hit, and most belong to Russia's shadow fleet of commercial oil tankers. The exact number is unclear, as some ships may have been hit more than once, and not all the strikes have been confirmed independently. So again, really this all comes down to pipelines. This all comes down to rare earth elements. This all comes down to oil. And that's what this fight is really about. Okay, you have to understand that this entire Russia war and everything you're seeing between the Ukrainians and the Russians and all these different wars, you can put the United States and Israel right behind it. Right, the Strait of Tankers loitering the Sea of Azov on the northeastern coast of occupied Crimea is common, as there is an onshore oil landing facility at Kerch Point on the peninsula itself. Kerch Point was attacked by Ukraine last month, and BBC verifies analysis of satellite imagery shows the number of tankers in this area reduced in the days that followed. So again, nighttime footage of the latest strikes began appearing on social media early on Tuesday, and Pravda detailed strikes every day between 6 and 9 of July. The governor of Russia's Rostov region, Yuri Sloizar, said 2 empty tankers were attacked on Wednesday in Tagrong Bay in the northeast corner of the Sea of Azov, although they were still burning on Thursday. Pravda says 2 tankers attacked earlier in the week were each carrying about 7,000 tons of fuel from the Tagrong area to Crimea. One satellite image captured on Wednesday showed a large plume of smoke rising from one ship around 2.5 miles, 4.2 kilometers, off the Crimean Sea, or coast. So again, you can kind of see where that smoke's stemming from here. You can see the smoke right above my cursor. And then you see Crimea annexed by Russia in 2014, and then these are the ships heading south. So very interesting, very interesting. And then here's Russia. Data from NASA suggests the fire had been raging from that spot since 6th of July, and likely a result of the first wave of strikes claimed by the Ukrainians' drone forces. The same image shows around 20 further vessels leaving the area and heading south towards the Black Sea. The head of Ukraine's unmanned systems forces named several tankers among those hit as the Venera 3, Sanar 1, Sanar 17, and Klymena, Thetis, Alexei, Savarsov, and Penopla. So this is pretty much what's going on with Ukraine and Russia today. That's kind of the big news with the Russia-Ukraine war, as we cover that, break into that information a little bit. And then now I wanted to talk about this entire project happening in Little Rock, Arkansas. Okay, so this is extremely important to discuss. Okay, do you want to live in a Muslim country? Do you want Christianity to die? Do you want to wake up to a 5 a.m. call to prayer? Do you want to see everything that you're seeing on Twitter? So if you go on Twitter, if you type in Muslims UK, do you want to see that in your country? It's really a simple question. And if not, you need to start running for politics. You who are watching, whoever you are, my very small audience, you need to start watching politics. You need to start paying attention to what's actually going on in the world, and you need to really understand that our country is currently being dominated by a foreign country. Okay, so this is happening in Little Rock, Arkansas. Cave Springs Planning Commission approved site development plan for a new $5 to $6 million Islamic center. A site development plan shows the new Islamic center of the Bentonville is proposed to be built on more than 5 acres at 848 Elk Road in Cave Springs. The location is shown below as a star. So again, right here. And so looking at more coverage on this, let's take a look at this video and see just what's happening with this. This has been going viral.
Christina
People are
Alayo
talking
in
about
Dallas,
this
and
today.
Here are your top stories. Outrage is erupting in Little Rock, Arkansas over a city-approved Islamic residential project that requires buyers to sign a private Islamic bill of assurance where the community would be ruled by Sharia law. It will have 2 mosques, an Islamic school, clinic, and related facilities under ongoing control by the Linked Mosque organization. The project sits in the John Barrow neighborhood area of Little Rock on a 6-acre site. City planning records show the Little Rock Planning Commission approved the New Africa development by the Islamic Center for Human Excellence, or ICHE, on a 10-0 vote in December of 2020.
10 to
Okay, here are the
vote.
details. 22 single-family homes planned, with multiple homes already built and sold. Additional lots approved. 2 prayer halls totaling nearly 10,000 square feet. 1 2,953 square foot mosque on lot 7, and 1 6,750 square foot mosque on lot 23. A 4,500 square foot Islamic educational building and school. Health clinic, community garden, playground, and parking spaces. Perpetual oversight by ICHE or the New Africa Homeowners Association. The binding Islamic Bill of Assurance
This
that
is a
every
takeover.
buyer
This is
and
what it looks
seller
like.
must sign states, in part, buyers and sellers are aware that this development is for the purpose of creating a wholly owned residential, all Islamic community conforming to the social guidelines given in the Quran, and all parties agree to this purpose. It includes enforceable rules on architecture, maintenance, and Quranic moral codes, aka Sharia, such as restrictions on alcohol, with the mosque-linked HOA holding permanent control. That's what you need to know in Dallas.
So this is a takeover. And what I find interesting is you have, movements and groups today, like the Return to the Land groups. Geez, sorry about that. And then more annoying ads on YouTube, because that's what they do.
Yeah, it's not good.
My God.
Hit me right in the mouth.
And so when you look at what's happening today, this is a total invasion, right? This is an invasion of our country. This is a problem. How many people are okay with their country turning into an how many people are really comfortable with America becoming a Muslim country? They are taking over in droves. This is happening. And at the end of the day, nobody does anything about it. You're supposed to just shake your head and say, oh, that's too bad. We need to really speak against this. Again, you have an entire Islamic mosque being built in Arkansas, and it's not just Arkansas. It's here in Dearborn, Michigan. It's everywhere you look today. This is a takeover. This is what it looks like to have your country completely dominated by another country, and they want to get rid of the United States Constitution. You have videos and videos and videos and videos of all of these people just admitting this. So I think this is totally wrong, and all of these politicians and anybody accepting this is a traitor to America. They should be kicked out of our country. That goes for, again, anybody supporting this should be kicked out of our country. If you're an American and you're okay with this, you are a traitor. You don't understand the values of what our homeland is and the world that you grew up in. The country that you grew up in, as you know it, will be gone when enough of these people come here. And I'm not saying this to sound like a racist. I'm saying this to make you understand that Sharia law is not compatible with the Constitution and our Bill of Rights and our civilization. You see videos every day, and we'll be watching them later on in this episode where all of this stuff is happening right before your eyes, and they don't care. And they say it. We're here to take over. So it's like, what do you want America to be? Do you want America to be a Christian country, or do you want this to be an Islamic country where, if you are a Christian, you get your head cut off, or you get punished or taxed into oblivion? Like, look at what Mamdani's doing in New York City. Right now, Mamdani's basically, he made a big statement today. We'll be covering this too on the show. Literally, Mamdani, again, we're going to be covering these clips in probably 10 minutes. And he's literally talking about how all of this is basically New York is going to be a Muslim country. He calls for America to be a Muslim country and to be an Islamic country and to follow Islam. I think that's insane. These are people who believe, again, if you're not Muslim, then you should be killed. That's jihad. And again, we also have people whose, ancestors and people whose relatives died in the Iraq War or the Afghanistan War or Desert Storm. And this is kind of a natural enemy. Right now, we're fighting the Iranians, right? And here the Iranians are coming over to our country, and they are literally inflicting war by invasion. And they're conquering us by land, and they're taking over in politics. All of these things are happening. So this is absolutely horrible. And anybody who doesn't fight against this, these are real. This is a real invasion. This is what it looks like. This is why the Crusades once existed. There needs to be an understanding of, these people aren't coming here to assimilate. These people aren't coming here to fit in. They're coming here to take over. And they've said that. They've said that time and time again. So again, before we get into more on the news, the real video news and all the different clips I want to go over, I did want to go over the Strait of Hormuz and kind of what's happening in this geographical area real quick. Kind of talk about what's happening in the Strait today based on the patterns I've been noticing over the past few months. And what I've been noticing, not a lot of people are going through the Strait of Hormuz. We already know that. There's been limited traffic, but I have been seeing a little bit more traffic. Every time I look on here, you seem to have another crude oil tanker passing through. Now, who's to say if that's who's to say if these are American crude oil tankers or not? You know, we use a lot of proxy vessels, like Liberian proxy vessels and things like that. And a lot of these aren't even on AIS, right? AIS being basically satellite imagery showing all of these vessels in the sea. They can obviously turn that off whenever they want. The Iranians have also been trolling the U.S. military by basically putting a lot of the Omanian Navy, basically all of their vessels on ghost mode. So you're not really able to see a lot of these AI vessels even in the Strait of Hormuz. So it's hard to see exactly what's going on just from a map. But what we can tell is that if we look at this entire picture, nothing's changed. Since this war started, nothing on the map has changed. You have oil clusters. You have crude oil tankers and these clusters, these red dots, and these red triangles all over the maps here, basically showing you that these are either anchored vessels or moving crude oil tankers or LNG, LPG vessels, basically in the same spots, right? Just east of Kuwait City over here, just north of the Persian Gulf, we have, again, another cluster of these oil tankers. Again, near Fujairah, I'm always pointing here. This is where a lot of the blockades taking place. A lot of insurance companies will have vessels dock here. And then you have Qatar, and then you have Bahrain, and very limited movement. And then here in Karg Island, where my cursor is right here, you have basically the Iranians who are still locking it down pretty much. So everything's the same. Nothing's really changed. Nobody really feels good about where this war is going. Everybody feels like we are still at war. This MOU means nothing, especially when we're striking them, right? And again, those strikes basically took place on Qasem Island, Banar Abbas, and Sarik. So that was just near the Strait of Hormuz. Now we're looking at the Red Sea, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait here, where my cursor is. And you still have the same exact traffic. Nothing's changed here. So really the entire map pretty much looks the same. Got a lot of motion north to south, limited movements with crude oil tankers and whatnot. A lot of trading ports. You'll see them docking here and around those areas. Again, just remember that the United States controls Sudan. We give them $30 million a year, basically just so we can control this Red Sea right here and a lot of this coastline. And then when we move northward to the Suez Canal, we obviously see that there's still pretty much limited movement. We do seem to have some crude oil tankers moving through the Strait of Hormuz, but again, extremely limited. And again, Port Said, just north of the Suez Canal, continues to have extremely high, anchorage rate here. So this is pretty much what's going on the maps. Nothing's really changed when it comes to the maritime traffic on the maps for the, analyzing this war. Again, you still have a lot of traffic going south of the Cape of Good Hope in Africa. All of these arrows here, all of this cluster here that you're seeing on the southern Horn of Africa, that's pretty much telling you that they're forced to be in this area still. So nothing has changed. All the trade pretty much moved here, and they have to go all up and around through and to Europe. And then same thing if you're going to go to India or any of these areas, Sri Lanka over here, then you're going to have to basically deal with these trading ports. So we're kind of basically screwed right now. The United States has to be in this war, or we're going to be pretty much, in this for a long time. Otherwise, the Iranians are going to win, and they're going to be able to control a lot of these oil prices. That's why right now we still have a lot of control over the oil prices. A lot of Trump's statements are doing that, kind of inflating what's actually going on. $71.81, $76.30 for Brent crude, bourbon crude at $71.37. Nothing, again, all pretty much stagnant. But these prices, I think, are still going to go up because I don't see this war ending anytime soon. And the more statements that Trump tries to make to keep those prices down, I don't really know if that's going to work. Meanwhile, the stock market, when we look at this, investors revive AI trade, sparking tech rallies. So that's pretty much what happened with the stock market today. Warm time jitters, subsidized In markets today, stocks advanced, led by tech-heavy NASDAQ, while oil prices slipped. The 10-year Treasury broke a 7-day streak on rising yields. After the market closed, a SK Hynix priced an American depository receipt sale at $149, raising $26.5 billion in marking the latest blockbuster offering for U.S. capital markets, according to people familiar with the matter. The moves followed President Trump's comments yesterday that Iran called him seeking a deal, signaling that at least one, if not both countries, would prefer to end the fighting that broke out during the week. The U.S. and Iran exchanged fire again last night, with Washington saying it struck 90 military targets. A lot of military targets. And so, again, the Iranians are not just going to back down anytime soon. And they pretty much keep rejecting all of these statements that Trump is making about peace deals and this thing continuing, right? So, again, when we look at the crypto market, also got to focus on that before we get into some of the breaking news and the videos and things that are, really happening in the media and the algorithms. I always cover the markets. I always cover what's going on in crypto and what's big today, because this is some of the most important things you need to pay attention to is emerging markets. And that's how you can make money, right? You want to make money, don't you? And so with that being said, you got to follow every single market. You got to follow the money and where it's going. So I think where it's going, I think everything's going to be going digital. And if you were watching Alex Jones today, you saw his buddy he's partnered with in the gold. I don't know what company that is again, but he was saying the same thing. His analyst was saying the same thing, that essentially everything's going to be tokenized, digitized, which means even gold prices. So when we see this Iran war kind of simmer down, settle down, whatever happens, the United States is pretty much going to be fine overall. We're just going to be going through a massive economic collapse very soon. Stock market probably going to crash. But I do think gold is probably going to go up. But, that all depends on oil and if we can control the petrodollar and what's going on with that, right? So, again, with cryptocurrency right now, Fear and Greed Index is at 28. Bitcoin's at 63,174. We're up 3% in the last 7 days and 1.47% in the last 24 hours. I think all of this depends on the Clarity Act. Once the Clarity Act passes, you'll see some kind of movement, trillions of dollars of inflow coming in from the banks. But the banks hate this. Jamie Dimon hates crypto. He's been making statements that he's gonna go all out war. On his interviews with Fox Business, he was literally cussing about it. So, the banks hate crypto. Everybody else, it would benefit crypto. Even the Democrats, not Elizabeth Warren, obviously, but you had Andrew Cuomo, whether you like him or hate him, he's a Democrat. And even he was saying that crypto's the future. There's no way that we can just avoid it. And so I totally agree with that. And then we have XRP at $1.09. And everything going on with that. Ethereum at $1,746.22. So in my opinion, those are the top three tokens. And then, of course, you have Solana, $78.04. Hyperliquid at $67.16. Dogecoin at 7 cents. So, yeah, this whole market, basically, it's right where it was before. So not a lot of movement, not a lot of changes until we see something happen with the Clarity Act. And you're not going to see that until probably August or I would hope before the end of 2026. A lot of people don't think that can happen. I think it probably will because it's going to be needed and necessary. Gold is at $4,122.35 today, and silver's at $60.01 per ounce today. I think this is really crazy to look at because I remember when gold was at like 5,400 and we were crushing it. And it was all before this Iran war happened. And once this Iran war happened, it just messed everything up, messed the entire market up. And so gold is declining, according to Rabbi Mizrahi. If you watched the interview with him and Gavin McInnes on the Matan show on YouTube, it was interesting because he had made a joke, and he's just like, gold is declining. And so interesting to hear the Jews talk about that, basically telling you what's going to happen there. And we all know that they control the money, they control the finance, so you kind of got to listen to what they're saying. Pay attention to gold. But, when the prices are low, buy at a discount. Don't be foolish. So, again, now I wanted to get more into some of the breaking news today, some of the bigger stories, everything I've been seeing in the media, right? So, Justin, the Iranian regime is reportedly erupting in anger after President Trump pummeled 170 targets and blocked the mullahs from selling oil. Technical talks are reportedly continuing despite the attacks. Trump reveals Iran's leaders are calling him to make a deal. And then Trump also said, I just don't know if they're worthy of making a deal. 47 will refuse to let Iran get away with tats in the Strait. So let's listen to this video.
We have just been given an update on what's been happening with Iran. A U.S. official telling us that technical talks will continue with Iran despite those strikes back and forth. And the administration is still committed to finding a resolution. That is coming from the administration, even after Iran violated this memorandum of understanding, and even as millions of Iranians flooded the streets today in Iran, threatening to kill the president.
Hundreds of mourners dressed in black hold a giant red flag that reads, "We will kill Trump." Another group of women hold up puzzle pieces that read, "Killing you is not enough. For us, we want to uproot demons." And this man holds up a sign that simply reads, "Revenge." That is the message Iran is sending tonight on this final day of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's funeral. Despite the scenes on the streets, President Trump reveals Iran's leaders are calling him to cut a deal.
They called a little while ago.
You really believe that?
So badly. I just don't know if they're worthy of making a deal. I don't know that they're going to honor the deal. That's the problem.
As the president mulls whether the U.S. will return to a full-scale military conflict,
The president knows how to play his hand better than anybody
How would
else in the world.
Lutnick?
renewed scrutiny tonight on his security.
So again, that's pretty much what's going on with the Iran war. That's the coverage on it. And honestly, that's what's happening over there. They're saying that they want to take Trump out. So the war is getting heavy. Things are getting heated. And it's not stopping anytime soon. Especially with those threats, I don't think Trump's just going to... He's not the type to just back down. He's probably going to double down. So again, when we look at some of these other stories, I wanted to talk more about Charlie Kirk because yesterday I tried to do some coverage on the Charlie Kirk case and everything that I believed, everything that I saw. And so now I'm kind of excited because I really want to talk about Charlie Kirk. I want to talk about what I think really happened. Because as a police officer myself, it doesn't seem realistic to me that everything we're being told is true. And so, again, a lot of inconsistencies with this entire Charlie Kirk case in court. So, again, Nick Fuentes and Alex Jones and a lot of the far right, they're going to tell you, hey, you're stupid. You're not listening to the facts. The FBI, they said it. It was Tyler Robinson, whatever. And they're kind of rejecting any narrative that Israel could have something to do with it. I think that is because maybe these guys have been threatened. They've probably gotten the call. But I think it's more than obvious that Israel did have something to do with this, or at the very least, it wasn't Tyler Robinson. We're seeing footage of Tyler Robinson walking out of the place, and he doesn't even have the rifle on his leg. His leg's bending as he's walking down the stairs. And again, we have other footage of Tyler Robinson where you can hardly see his face. We have the crime scene that was dug up like 10 inches. We also have forensic evidence and investigations that prove that the bullet wasn't even the same bullet basically used to kill Charlie, and that it didn't come from a 30-06. And so very interesting stuff. You had police officers who basically admitted that their body cameras were off. The whole thing is fishy. Everything about the case is fishy, right? You have Charlie Kirk's security team, who was like former special ops, a lot of them, and some of them apparently were like former IDF or connections to IDF or something like that. And you have, again, I mean, when you watch the video, we'll watch some of these videos, okay? You look at this, like this guy is who I'm talking about. Look at this video. When you see the footage of really this guy right here in the white polo shirt, he gives a signal. And then this guy gives the other signal. And then he's done. They take him out. They whack him. So again, I don't know if you ever played baseball. Don't know if you guys ever played sports. I'm not sure if you guys were ever in law enforcement. Whoever's watching this, the small audience that does, I can tell you right now, I know what a signal looks like, okay? And that's what it looks like. Tip of the hat, then he touches the arm. His partner then relays a signal right after that. He acknowledges the signal. So again, let's rewind this. So pay attention. The guy in the white baseball cap, white polo shirt, he's holding a phone. These three guys all right here, I think, had pretty much everything to do with this death, in my opinion. The more I watch the footage, all of these guys, they wiped the crime scene in minutes. That, in the court, they say it was days. No, it was minutes. Because the moment Charlie was shot, body was taken to another vehicle. Ben Shapiro also said his security detail was on the phone with Charlie's security detail. How fishy is that? We should be interrogating Ben Shapiro. We should be interrogating Ben Shapiro's security team. We should be interrogating these guys who were essentially in the room or in the area of Charlie Kirk when he died. That is obviously what we need to do. but we're not going to get any of that. So I'm telling you, what's going to end up happening is they're going to find that Tyler Robinson likely had nothing to do with this, or they're going to, because of the power and influence over this case, they're just going to wrap it up, say that Tyler did it. But again, even Tyler's boyfriend or something like that, or somebody he knew, basically said that it didn't even look like him, that he wasn't even there. Very, very weird case. But in my opinion, this is all, this is a textbook military assassination. Okay, so look at the guy in the white baseball cap. He gives the signal, and then right after that, dude in the brown polo shirt standing right behind Charlie, basically immediately acknowledges the signal. He looks over to his left, sees that the guy just gave the signal, then he gives his signal. So gives his signal, tip of the hat, touches the ear. He looks around, acknowledges that sign, touches his elbow, shoulder, acknowledges, bam, he's dead. And so that's interesting to me. I think that's quite fishy. And again, this is all circumstantial. We're just asking questions, but very weird stuff. Very weird stuff. And again, I'm not saying the phone did it. A lot of people believe it was the road mic. A lot of people believe that the guy who was just to Charlie's left had an underarm gun. I don't believe that, but I believe all of these are possibilities. Another interesting video was this video here. All these guys, by the way, look like former Navy or
he
former
appears
military.
to have a palm gun in his right hand, and he aims it at Charlie.
So again, let's rewind this a little bit. So again, you see the beginning of this video, and this guy right here where my cursor is, okay, right here. And essentially, as soon as, like the millisecond before Charlie shot, it's like he pulls a string or something in his arm. Now maybe he's just itching his arm.
This man right here, folks. This is Charlie Kirk, security guy.
Very interesting.
He appears to have a palm gun in his right hand, and he aims it at Charlie Kirk and squeezes the palm gun, firing off a round directly into Charlie Kirk's.
I don't know about that.
I
don't know about a palm gun, but I'm saying the movement of his wrist was weird. Maybe it was some kind of, switch for the road mic. Maybe it was a switch for like a camera-mounted gun. All of these things exist in special ops. People who say that that's a conspiracy theory are just lying. This is how we take people out and get away with it.
Maybe off the cross or something else that was hard and ricocheted up.
So I don't want to get too much into conspiracy theories.
As you can see,
but these are just like some of the, before we get into the court cases and what's been happening over the past few days and some of the different interviews, I wanted to really focus on the baseline inconsistencies with the factual evidence behind, what really happened behind Charlie's death.
The barrel of the palm pistol. You see him squeeze the palm pistol, firing off a round into Charlie Kirk.
Okay, it's not a palm pistol, but it's something that he pulled. It's like a switch that he pulled on his sleeve. So again, that's just one little clip. Again, just looking at inconsistencies right now. Things that I thought were weird when all of this went down. Okay, in my opinion, what people really need to be paying attention to. Okay, so again, Charlie Kirk's assassin, Tyler Robinson, was spotted laughing mere feet away from Ecker Kirk in the court today. This comes after he showed no remorse in a previous court appearance. Swift judgment. It's clear that he has no remorse, and no remorse should be shown when he's punished. So again, this is apparently footage, and he's laughing or something. Can't really see him laughing. Where's he laughing? Maybe I missed it here.
Being delivered to this courthouse. Some of the doors are zip tied, so all types of measures being taken to make sure that this proceeding happens safely and securely today. Now, on the docket,
where's he laughing?
Perhaps one of the most important issues. There was an October 24th.
I see him kind of laugh right there.
Judge Graff determined Robinson will be allowed to wear civilian clothing in court, as you see on your screen right now. But he has to.
To me, this just strikes me as a JFK assassination. You have Lee Harvey Oswald, and then you have the actual driver of the JFK vehicle where JFK was shot, who actually pulled the gun, right? You had the driver of the JFK vehicle, and he switches his head back once, looks back another time, right underneath his arm. You can see it in the footage, pulls his gun, shoots Kennedy, and then puts his hands right back on the wheel. And totally unnoticed. And that footage never got released until 2025 when the Trump administration declassified all those files. And I think this is going to be the same thing. And then you had this guy who he dives across the table. This was the guy who was basically, who pulled the switch, I think, or somebody right next to him. But then it's like, pay close attention, slides across the table, messes up the whole crime scene. He messes up the whole crime scene. And then when they put it in slow-mo, it looks like he grabbed something. A lot of people are saying he grabbed something, then put it in his pocket. Definitely looked like he put something in his pocket, especially right here as they zoom in and when he really walks away. So many inconsistencies with this case. Guy in the brown appears to give him the remote detonator, and he then runs away with it. That's weird. And so that's the guy who pulled his sleeve up, like right when he was sitting right in front of Charlie. He pulled the sleeve up. So he jumped to the table, grabbed something, went to the other guy, and gave him the switch. So again, then you look at these other guys. Both men grab something. Really weird stuff. So this is a team operation. This is, this looks like a military textbook special ops assassination. This is how all over the world we've killed people without, while getting away with it. And again, don't forget, Charlie Kirk even said, hey, my security detail, at Special Forces, they know what they're doing. They're smart guys. And at the end of the day, they seem to be pretty smart. And none of these guys are being questioned today. Isn't it? It's really a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke on anybody who loved Charlie Kirk. It's to make you believe that there's actually a trial. It's all a show trial. It's all a theater. You should be getting this security team really, being interviewed. And you're really not. I haven't seen any footage of them yet. So again, viewer discretion advised here. This is real video, and you can see the road mic explode and strike Charlie Kirk in the neck, killing him. So this is the big theory. Everybody believes that it's the road mic. So something about that mic that was on his shirt, on his right shoulder plate. So again, right here. Very interesting. Weird stuff. So again, these are all just the basic theories. Yeah, people attacking Candace Owens for her theories, all that stuff. But it is weird, to say the least. It's extremely weird to see his security team moments before he's shot, and they're giving signals like they're on third base, giving signals to the batter. It's like kind of strange, It's like, it's really strange, actually. So let's look at the latest of this case. And then we're going to watch a Ben Swan video. I didn't get to watch it yesterday, kind of covering what was happening with this. So weird. I think it's obvious that Tyler Robinson didn't kill him. I think that there was, if anything, Tyler Robinson was a patsy. If anything, Tyler Robinson, if he was involved, it made sense. He's a part of the left, so they can blame this all on the left. And again, it does make perfect sense to me. If you are going to blame somebody on the left, and it's a whole greater operation. And I think that when we just look at the way that this all looks, it looks like a JFK assassination to me. And so I'm not saying that this is what happened. I'm not saying that Israel did it, but I'm saying it looks like all of the previous assassinations we've seen in American history. All the times that presidents have been killed, very coordinated event. And again, we also have a lot of Charlie Kirk's security team who were like, a couple of them were members of the tribe of Judah or something like that, according to their own bios and things that they talked about on their websites. Really weird shit. I don't understand why people, even the court, keep saying Erica Kirk is the victim. Legally, she is not the victim of the case. Charlie is. So why are they doing this specifically for her? I'm reading what somebody said on X here. I've never known a mother, child, sister, etc. of murder victim to be named a victim. So anyways, trying to look more into some court videos here. I got them all in my bookmarks, but they're just way down the line. A lot of interesting stuff. So let's listen to this. What does this have to say?
You can tell a lot by what the defense is concerned with, by what they've been objecting to. And already when it comes to this testimony, this recorded statement from Lance Twiggs, the romantic partner and roommate, they have made a motion where they've objected to it. They've had a prior ruling on it. That was denied. They appealed that up to the Supreme Court in Utah. That was denied. They've renewed those objections here in court. And earlier today, they've objected to it again. That's what we believe is about to happen here. This officer, I believe, is the one that is going to introduce that evidence. So all of this is leading up to this point from hearing from Lance Twiggs, which I think will probably be the cornerstone piece of evidence in this case.
They literally said there was a forensics investigation and that a bullet was found on another building and it didn't even belong to a 30-06 rifle. And it actually was so tiny, it looked like it had no resemblance to a 30-06 bullet. I've seen a 30-06 bullet, shot a 30-06. It wasn't a 30-06. And so, this is the big narrative that they're trying to say is that, they're trying to pull out any kind of evidence they can, but all they ended up pulling out was the ground underneath where Charlie died. And 10 inches of grass and dirt, specifically clearing the crime scene so no forensics could be done. Did you see any FBI around the Charlie Kirk scene? Did you see any FBI coats at all? Did you see any FBI coats during the Thomas Crooks assassination? I saw one during the Thomas Crooks assassination attempt on Donald Trump's life on July 11th. I saw one FBI coat. You want to know what they were doing? They were on the same roof of Thomas Crooks, and they were watering down the roof. They were watering down the roof, watering down the crime scene. I saw no caution tape, no forensics teams, no forensics kits. None of that existed. This is all a game. This is all a psyop. You're being lied to and played. Completely and totally, this entire court is a show trial. And, you know, as much as I love Nick Fuentes and I love Alex Jones, but they really believe that Tyler Robinson was the killer. No. I think Tyler Robinson had a lot to do with it. I think he absolutely had a lot to do with it. I think he understands and knows what his role was in all of this, which was to be a patsy. This is like a Lee Harvey Oswald 2.0. Obviously, Charlie Kirk was going to be your next president. 3 days before he was killed, literally starts talking about the Jewish lobby. He starts interviewing Ben Shapiro and says, well, you have to understand, Ben, that the Jews do own a lot of the media. I mean, and he's being polite about it, not being like all the anti-Semites in the world. And again, Ben Shapiro, with the same expression, he goes, and he's just completely shocked that Charlie even said that. And then once he's killed, again, and before that even happens, don't forget, Charlie Kirk also turns down $150 million from Turning Point USA. On top of that, you also have, once he turns that down, you have the people at Turning Point USA who start to call him an anti-Semite, and everybody turns against him in the entire organization. And then don't forget, once Charlie Kirk was killed, whose security detail was on the phone with Charlie Kirk's security detail? It was Ben Shapiro's security detail. He literally made a whole clip about it. He's like, my security detail was on the phone with Charlie Kirk's security detail right after he was shot, and apparently he was still alive. There's all this intelligence. These are forensics. We need to get forensics on the phone. The cell phone used by Ben Shapiro, I'm sure it was a dark phone. I'm sure it was broken, obviously, if they were smart. You know, we need to get all of the forensics on the, the phone conversations that were had, really. And I'm sure all of that's gone by now, because we've all been lied to for so long. And it's just weird to me. Why would Ben Shapiro's security detail be on the phone with, Charlie Kirk's security detail? Security details? Come on. It's just a little weird. And again, none of this is evidence. It's just really fishy.
Hearing of the voice of Lance Twiggs kind of giving his side of this whole thing, but huge evidence for those who missed it, talking about the DNA where there was a towel that had wrapped the rifle found in a bush, Josh, that had the DNA of both Lance Twiggs and Tyler Robinson. Talk about that, because that seems to me like
See, this is just Fox News propaganda, in my opinion, when I watch this. The only reason I love to cover Fox News is because I think they probably have the best reporting you can find out of the mainstream media, so I play their clips. But I think, you can find the truth the easiest when it comes to Fox News today. And Fox News is also closest to the president, so that's why it's important to follow them. That's why I watch so many clips I do. But at the end of the day, this is just total propaganda. I've been seeing so many different videos all over the place, just come all over X, and we're going to watch all of them.
A huge piece of evidence for the prosecution.
Yeah, two crucial pieces of DNA evidence were recovered. A screwdriver that was found on that roof where they believe the sniper was set up. That screwdriver had DNA recovered from it, as well as that towel that you just mentioned that was wrapped around the suspect rifle that they recovered DNA. And it was mixed DNA. It was Lance Twiggs and Tyler Robinson's. So much of the testimony had to do how they unwound those mixed samples.
And I guess that's the end of the clip there. So let's look at some other stuff. So again, a lot of inconsistencies. We're going to look at all of it. But again, these are just like the most breaking clips. This is everything that's pretty much new. All the new information. So again, 13 minutes ago, day 4 recap for those that have missed it. Tyler Robinson preliminary hearing, Charlie Kirk case. Prosecutors played key portions of the redacted video interview with Lance Twiggs, Robinson's former roommate and romantic partner at the time of the September 10th, 2025 shooting. In the video, Twiggs described confronting Robinson the morning after Charlie Kirk's assassination at Utah Valley University. Robinson allegedly confirmed he fired the fatal shot, then broke down crying, paced to the apartment, and said he wished he hadn't done it. He reportedly discussed turning himself in or telling his parents. Text messages between the two also shown includes Twiggs asking if Robinson did it and Robinson saying, I'm sorry. Judge Tony Graff allowed much of the evidence to be shown publicly but ordered redactions to certain portions of the interview. Robinson appeared uneasy during related testimony. What's with the redactions? Why do we need the redactions? That's extremely fishy. Weird stuff if you're a cop. I mean, I've done hundreds of law enforcement investigations as a cop. This is weird. This is something's going on. This is an inside job. It is expected to conclude soon. So again, this is what they're saying. This is Hunter Eagleman, by the way. He gets paid to repost specific people's content. Yeah, they're really not showing a lot of the clips that I bookmarked. So when we see a lot of this, let's see the text messages first.
Photos of the rifle. He says Grandpa wants...
Robinson, delete this exchange. My dad wants photos of the rifle. He says my grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle, and it is very unique. He's calling me right now, not answering.
To know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle, and it's very unique. He's calling me right now, not answering. I mean, when you put together the pieces of this puzzle, the purpose of the preliminary hearing is to find out whether or not this will be held over for trial. It would seem that the prosecution more than met their burden in holding this over.
Look at them. They're just trying to push this
if they were simply going in to try to...
Innocent until you're guilty until proven innocent, right? Instead of innocent until proven guilty. Listen, I'm not saying Tyler Robinson had nothing to do with this at all. I think Tyler Robinson had a lot to do with it. I think he played a very specific role in the entire operation. But nobody's going to convince me, after all of the different inconsistencies, everything we've seen since Charlie Kirk's death since September 10th, nobody's going to be convincing me anytime soon that his security detail didn't have everything to do with this. Why are we not hearing from them? I want to hear from the security details of Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk. I want to hear their side of the story, their testimonies. I want them to be doing interviews. I want all of their technology, their phones. Those things should be subpoenaed, and they should be showing all of their text messages, everything going 5 years back at least, 10 years back if you can. This is Charlie Kirk was an individual who was likely going to be the president in 2028. And they understood that. They knew that. And so they took him out. They whacked him. Now, I'm not saying Israel did this. I'm saying that I think it was Charlie Kirk's security detail. And I think that it was the people who, who knows if this is, by Trump, Ecker Kirk, a lot of fishy things with her, very strange encounters we've seen with Ecker Kirk, the fake crying. A lot of people allegedly fake crying. It certainly appears that way to me. Just a very weird grieving process. 11 days later, she's bragging about T-shirt sales and ticket sales and all this stuff. Becomes the CEO shortly after the death. Sparks flying behind her. She's giving the Baphomet devil horns symbol to the camera. Weird. And again, you also know that, Erica Kirk, Erica Frantsev or something, I can't remember her real last name. It's like this lady literally was working for the Romanian Angels. She had connections to the Romanian Angels and this entire foundation, and as well, she's also featured in a CIA U.S. Air Force, but CIA entire training video, and so really weird. Who is Erica Kirk? Why don't we hear more from her? And obviously, they would say, oh, she's the victim of this entire tragedy. Her husband was killed. Well, it's we'd like to hear from you, Erica, because we want to hear your side of the story. What do you know? What did you see? Who did you talk to? I mean, this is an investigation. And this is, we're trying to determine the actual form of death. And she just wants to convict Tyler Robinson right away. Doesn't even want to investigate further. What does that tell you? That's really weird. So many things that are weird about this entire thing. So many things that are just so strange about all of this. So again, breaking ATF expert says Charlie Kirk bullet fragment could not be conclusively matched to the rifle. Here we go. This is the clip I wanted to find. A major development in the Charlie Kirk case, ATF forensics examiner Samantha Carner testified that the bullet fragment recovered from Charlie Kirk's autopsy did not meet the standard required for a conclusive match to the rifle recovered near the UVU campus. So let's take a look at this. This comes from Phantom Pain.
Specify which of those possibilities exists in this case? Was this a case where you had microscopic dissimilarity, but in your opinion, it was insufficient to form a conclusion of source exclusion?
No, my conclusion is inconclusive. Just as it says in the appendix, there is a lack of sufficient agreement and sufficient disagreement, so I'm unable to say one way or another.
Okay, but I guess my question is,
Really
were
weird.
there points of dissimilarity between the question and the known bullets?
Again, there was sufficient agreement and there was not sufficient agreement or sufficient disagreement. So yes, there was times that I saw agreement in the striations and the landing group impressions, also seeing disagreement, but there was also a lot of lack of microscopic marks of value to see it all. So because of this lack of quality and quantity of marks to be able to see, it never reached the threshold of sufficient agreement nor sufficient disagreement.
I can neither confirm nor deny that answer. I can neither confirm nor deny that question, Your Honor, or sir.
So an identification or exclusion could not be rendered.
So basically, this is a typical Fed answer, right? And I don't like Fed jacketing people because everybody calls everybody a Fed today. But this is like what a federal agent says, right? I can neither confirm nor deny. Well, we saw accuracies and inaccuracies. And, well, although we didn't have microscopic evidence of the bullet fragmentations, we also did see microscopic evidence of the bullet fragmentations. This is exactly a safe response to protect yourself. So that way you can't incriminate yourself. Otherwise, you would have a clear and definitive answer. No, she would say, oh, absolutely, that is the bullet. That is the same fragmentation. We were able to align that and the consistencies with the striations of the bullet and everything that has to do with, the form of the entire bullet after being fired. It matches the forensics and the ballistics report and all of this stuff. You hear all of this different language, but no, it's I can neither confirm nor deny answer.
Okay.
The hate of men will...
So it really, really... It's like, this is such a joke, man. This is the federal government just trolling everybody. I wouldn't even say the federal government. This is whoever was behind it, just trolling everyone. And they're going to get away with it. I think at the end of the day, there will be a conviction for Tyler Robinson. They will use basically all of these statements between him and his buddy, all the text messages. They will use that as corroborative and, official evidence. And they will use that for the conviction. That's all they need. And they will, you will have the media pushing, well, this is good enough for a prosecution. That's all they need, is to control that narrative in the media. That's why Fox News is pushing it like crazy. Tyler Robinson did it. Tyler Robinson did it. Tyler Robinson did it. And then you have Eric Kirk. It was Tyler Robinson. Nobody else look. I just want Tyler Robinson arrested right now. What is that for? This is a patsy. This is a man who definitely had more to do with this entire thing. This is Tyler Robinson equals Lee Harvey Oswald in this entire game. And the real shooter ends up being the person who was literally the security detail. Who knows the most about these people that they are around? Who knows the most about the entire environment? Well, it's going to be your Secret Service. It's always going to be the security detail. Okay, they always make it look like it's an accident, like somebody else did it. They give you enough conspiracies and inconsistencies to where you're looking here and you're looking there and you're looking up here, you're looking down there. And all of a sudden there's so much different narrative and so much confusion, it creates the chaos. And once there's the chaos, then it creates argument. When there's argument, there's really no proof of anything. Your truth, it could be your truth, it can be my truth. No truth really exists. And that's the philosophy behind an assassination when it comes to this. This is really what's going on. Charlie Kirk assassination case is falling apart. More evidence that emerges, the less the official story adds up. A bullet was found on another rooftop minutes after the shooting, but the building was never secured as a crime scene. Police later claimed it was an officer's ejected casing, then couldn't recall what caliber it was or where it ended up. A man in a lab coat carrying a firearm ran towards the Woodbury building after the shooting. Then all charges against him were quietly dropped. Witnesses reported multiple people in the suspect vehicle, including a bald driver, but those accounts disappeared. Another witness described a man in black sunglasses, a mask, a trench coat, and scruffy hair, nothing like Tyler Robinson. Video also appears to show someone resembling Lance Twiggs, whose DNA was reportedly found on key evidence. So again, you have Lance Twiggs, you have Tyler Robinson. Yeah, DNA evidence found on these people. But you want to know who has a lot of DNA evidence? I'm going to tell you. It's going to be his security detail, Charlie Kirk's security detail. I'm not saying that they did it. I'm saying that I think that there's a very high possibility that they had a lot to do with this and that they knew what was going to happen. There's just too many things that I would be asking as a prosecutor myself to the security detail specifically if I was on the case. Too many questions. And I would subpoena them first minute I could in court. And obviously, you're not going to get prosecutors who are going to do that. So it's like that's who I want to hear from. And I want to get the right questions asked by them. So let's listen to this.
You're definitely going to want to see this.
So that's the rooftop of UVU, Utah Valley University. There's the Woodbury building, 28 to 42 feet. We see a man on that building.
I posted that video just 8 days after Charlie Kirk's assassination. Someone was on the rooftop of the Woodbury building minutes before the shooting, but somehow that building was never treated like a crime scene. Now listen to this.
Wasn't there also a bullet found on another building?
I believe an unfired bullet had been found on another building at some point during my time there on September 10th. Yes.
Which building was that, sir?
I don't recall.
Was that considered a murder?
No, my recollection is that was careful as an ejected cartridge from Officer who was right.
Okay, I thought you unfired bullet was Oh, okay. So it also like that on September?
That's my recollection. That was no.
What was that? You were at the house? Was it the year? The driver of the vehicle was bald?
I do remember that being in the report.
Hold on.
Yes.
And you didn't mention that today when you were talking about that ring camera, did you?
I did not.
And did they also tell you there were 3 other people in the car?
Yes, I believe they thought that was the case.
Okay.
This, of course, isn't shocking. Even who says someone.
We keep freezing here, so hold on. Just 1 second. We're going to come right back to this video in just a moment. Just a moment. So, we have a storm happening right now where I'm at. And so the video might be a little bit laggy, but just bear with me. I'm going to just keep the video unzoomed in because we're kind of getting low on storage, I'm guessing, or memory.
A black COVID mask. He had a black trench coat, black cargo pants, and he was wearing a small backpack, and he also had long, greasy black hair. The guy said, "Someone's been shot."
Looking back on it, did that person think that was the shooter now?
The guy was already trying to leave. And so we were then shown a picture by the sheriff at the time, and the excavator said that it matched.
And then there's the video of someone who looked a lot like Lance Twiggs. The same guy with immunity, the same guy whose DNA was found all over the evidence.
That's weird. Very strange. I mean, it's definitely like the left. Like, the left had a lot to do with it, but I think they were working in unison with the Israelis personally, or possibly Charlie Kirk's own security team. All of these things could be possible, but we're just not being told enough information. Clearly. So, really interesting stuff. That's kind of what we're seeing on that. What do you think? You know, do you think that it really was Tyler Robinson? Do you think that it was Lance Twiggs? Do you think it was both of them? Do you think that this was a coordinated op between just Tyler Robinson and, you know, Lance Twigg and Twiggs and then a few other Democrats? Or do you think that there was more to this story? Honestly, who really knows? I think that it's going to be interesting to find the truth. And so, again, we're going to cover more of this Ben Swan video tomorrow. But just because we're kind of running low on storage, we're going to skim through the rest of these videos and clips and then call it a night. So again, this is the last video I wanted to show. So ultimately, you know, as we talk about who's really behind everything and who's really behind, you know what? I'm going to play this video on a different day. We're kind of running low on storage right now. We're going to come back tomorrow and we're going to talk more and more about this Charlie Kirk case and really what I really see happening. I'm going to cover all the different bookmarks I've already covered, and then we're going to get into the breaking news afterwards. So again, I might come back. If it's not tomorrow, I'll be covering this more on Monday. So again, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Again, what do you think about all of this? What do you think? Who do you think is really behind Charlie Kirk's death? Do you think it was his security team? Do you think that this is all a planned operation? Or do you think that we are just being completely played as fools? That's kind of what I think. I think there's a lot of inconsistencies, but ultimately, who knows? We will see what happens. Without further ado, again, I will see you either tomorrow or Monday, and we'll talk more about this Charlie Kirk case based on all the new information that comes out. Stay prudent, stay powerful, and stay wealthy.